things metal. I'm Matt. I'm Jeff.
Welcome back to the Bleghcast, the ones and zeros of all thing metal. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we have maybe a little bit touchy, maybe a little bit what's the word I'm thinking of? Sensitive. Yeah, I don't know. We're doing two pretty big bands, and just judging by our little pre-talk that we did beforehand, it might be a little bit of a little sketchy episode for you guys today. We're doing Slipknot's new album and Lamb of God's new album.
Slipknot is The End so far, and Lamb of God is Omens, and we have decided to do Slipknot first.
Yes.
Which right before we started recording, what were the words you just used?
The sensitive?
Like, get the hard one out of the way or something
first. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So explain that, because I think I might be on the same page as you.
This didn't sound like there was maybe three or four songs that actually sounded like Slipknot, in my opinion. And I think that for me, at least, what it sounded like is, so Corey Taylor is also in a band called, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it now. I've been thinking about it all week and I can't think of it. Stone Sour. Okay, there we go. Got there. So Corey Taylor is also in a band called Stone Sour. And I read an article a few years back about how he decides, it was because of, on All Hope Is Gone, there's a song called Snuff, which is really light and almost doesn't sound like a Slipknot song. But when he was talking about it, he's like, when I write songs for Slipknot and I write songs for Stone Sour, I think about where is it going to go? How does it fit? And he's like, deep down, I felt like Snuff fit Slipknot because it's a little bit, it's darker, it's more emotional, so on and so forth. Because Stone Sour is more of like, they're still metal, but they're more like hard rocky. I don't know if you've ever listened to them.
No.
Okay.
I know the name though.
Okay. So to me, this album sounded really confused because it almost sounded like he had a bunch of Stone Sour songs written, and I don't even know if they're still doing anything, but just put them in with Slipknot because it didn't fit. I remember the first time I listened to it, I kind of got bored just listening to it because it didn't quite like fit what like the Slipknot sound.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Now, like for me personally, keep this in mind. Like both Slipknot and Lamb of God have never been my band, right? Like this is the first Slipknot album that I listened to beginning to end, and because I've heard Slipknot here and there, but just I don't know, they just never grabbed me. Although there are elements of it that I like, but it's just not my type of music. So yeah, I have to agree with you that I was kind of like bored overall. There were a few moments here and there where I like the sound of it, but there weren't really any songs. Like I didn't really have any favorite songs, but yeah, to me, it like, I don't know all of Slipknot's discography, but I could tell that this one didn't exactly feel like Slipknot either.
Yeah.
I can't comment on the Stone Sour, what if it would have suited that band more. But I do think that seeing Slipknot, if suddenly I found myself at a Slipknot concert somehow, I think that would be a trip watching them live. So I think I could probably enjoy them that way. But
they are great live.
Yeah, I think I've heard you tell me stories about their live show. But overall, this one, it didn't really do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like Adderall. Like I think I didn't even finish Adderall at the beginning. I was like, that, I don't know what the fuck that was, but I was like 3 minutes in, I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on to the next one.
Yeah. I would say, so I have 4 songs that I had written down. Two of which I would say are actually like my favorites. The other 2 just had like some catchy parts that I liked.
I've got 3 with just parts that I wanted to comment on.
Yeah. So my first one was the Dying song. I don't know how you felt about that one, but for me, it had a really catchy intro, and granted it's track 2, but like you said, after listening to Adderall, it had that more classic Slipknot sound. So it kind of like, I was like, ooh, what the fuck is Adderall? Like what, like, you know, like what's going on? And then I heard that and it kind of like lifted my spirits back up. But I feel like it's that Motionless in White thing, like album all over again, where they had like that one song and you're like, okay, yeah, it's, you know, maybe that, you know, that song's a fluke. And then you listen to the rest of the album and you're like, ugh. But, yeah, I thought the intro was pretty catchy. And then at 150, they have a nice little bass run that I enjoyed. But
find that.
It's during like a little solo, but like the bass is like brought forward and you can just hear the
Yeah, it was cool. I think, you know what? I didn't write this down, but I just remembered it. I'm glad I did.
Okay.
It's not like the instrumentals, I think, to me are better than the vocal style. I think for Slipknot, I just don't like the vocal style of like the singing and whatever. Like if I take myself out of the singing and stuff, like I remember I'm like, all right, I can kind of, you know, quote, enjoy the, you know, the guitar and the, you know, musical aspect of it. But I don't know. I know you like Corey Taylor overall, but it's just not my cup of tea.
That's okay. People are allowed to like and not like things.
Thank God.
Yeah. And then, so I'd say that was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Chapel Town Rag wasn't necessarily a favorite, but at 318 to 340, I enjoyed how, like, the way he delivered the lyrics on top of the guitar kind of matched. Like, it just like very punchy.
Yeah, he likes to.
Yeah. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a guitar riff, but in vocal form.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. And that's really all I really enjoyed about that song was just that one part there. Warranty. What was funny about that? I remember listening to that song in my car, and I would always pick up my phone and like look at it to see what was playing. Cause I was like, "Ooh, I like this song." And then but I never like liked it, liked it. And I remember when I was listening through the album one last time this morning, I went to Warranty and I listened to it, and I'm sitting there, I'm like waiting for the part that always made me pick up my phone and like look at it to figure out what was playing. And I just couldn't find it. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it was. Like all of a sudden, like my taste towards the song changed. But the one thing I did want to say about this is I liked how I think it's 236, they have a choir, but it's not like, I would say, like Lorna Shore type choir where it's like really bright and like powerful. It's weird because it feels darker, but really beautiful at the same time. It's like a completely different type of choir, and it adds a whole different sound to it.
Actually sounds like a real choir.
Yeah.
And not a keyboard patch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they're using a lot of vibrato. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had a moment like that in where you said you couldn't find the spot in Warranty. Because for these songs, I hit the like button just because I knew there was a moment in the song that I wanted to go back to later.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing while I was driving. And when I was making my notes, this was for Hive Mind. And I was kind of skipping around Hive Mind to try to find that spot. And I was like, where in the world, what did I like? Why did I click the like button on this song?
Yeah.
But it ended up being at 4:35, which is like the very end. And I said, I would have liked to hear the album have more moments like this. 4:35 on Hive Mind. It's almost like it's like that like slowish kind of riff, power chords.
And see, that's kind of like the old Slipknot-y type thing. They used to do that a lot in their other albums. So that was kind of like and it wasn't like through a whole song, but it was definitely in the songs with like that was their like bridge / like breakdown transition. They didn't do like a chug bridge. They did that like power chord, like breakdown type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in past Slipknot albums, 2 questions.
Okay.
Did they have, because to me this one kind of had more of like a raw production value.
Okay.
And number 2, are those big drums that they play very prevalent in their albums? Because like because I just thought of this as we were talking. There was only like I didn't timestamp anything, but there was only like 1 or 2 times where I could kind of hear those like big boomy. Don't they have players that just like bash on drums?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they have
time.
Yeah, they have their regular drummer, and then they have two drummers, or percussionists, I should say.
Yeah.
That play primarily like floor drums. So I don't know like what they're tuned to or anything like that, but
should be kind of, because it would be kind of weird to have it in every song, but I'm wondering, like, I just didn't notice. They're what?
It's that they play in every song.
Oh.
Yeah. For example, like Psychosocial, there is a like snare solo. Like I don't know what the like is it a caded? You know, fuck, what am I trying to say? Like where it's just like the snare doing like a rhythm. Da, 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 like something like that.
Like a roll or something.
Yeah. So there's a part where they to emphasize it, not only is the drummer playing it, but the 2 percussionists are also doing the same thing on snares. I don't know if you could.
That was that was back in the day, right?
2010. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, did you hear those drums a lot in this album? Because unless it just didn't poke out to me.
The one
Did they
that,
do it for the live show more or something?
the one that it sounded most prevalent on is what I would pronounce it as hell, just because it's a 3 and then 2 7s, and if you flip it upside down, it's
Right.
an E and whatever. That one had like a big drum intro, which I think is where you can find it most prevalent. But they also have a keg that they hit with the metal hammer. And I didn't like mark down any timestamps on when you can hear it, but I heard that throughout the album.
Okay.
So you hear that like ting every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking of, that ting sound.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down, but oh, maybe it was Heirloom. Hold on.
All right. No.
Yeah, I don't know where it was, but I do remember hearing that ting sound, and I was wondering.
Yeah, Heirloom.
Oh, was it? Okay.
117. So like 116 or 115 if you want to go straight there. There's a ting, but then there's also like after it, there's kind of like a cow belly. I don't know if it's actual cowbell, but
okay. Yeah, that was very layered in there then.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I must just not have picked up on it a lot.
Yeah.
Throughout.
So my two favorites in like all reality were The Dying Song and then Hell. I liked Hell because of the big drum intro, and then at 150 they have the guitar mixed in with those like DJ like vinyl scratches.
150?
Is it?
I'm not hearing it.
Okay, I'm sorry, 50. 50 even, not 150.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that was pretty cool. And then
I think that's probably one of my favorite things about just them and the band in general is like those DJ scratches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have a song that I like.
Yeah,
that does that. So.
And then at 59 seconds, so like right after that spot, he does like this like really fast lyrics, which I enjoyed. I think he does that really well. Yeah, that's pretty much it though. For me.
Yeah. I agree with those moments that you like too. Mine. So the 3 songs that I had comments on, we already talked about Hive Mind at 4:35. That ending, you said it sounded like the older Slipknot type of thing that they would do. And then back to Heirloom. That scratch at 17 seconds. The DJ scratch.
Yeah.
Like I really like that. It's just cool. Like you could tell how skilled that guy is.
Yeah.
I would love to know how to do that. Because like I would love to be able to do something like that in my songs, but I don't know I don't know if he's actually scratching like a sample of a song or if it just produces that scratchy sound just by itself, so.
Yeah, I'm sure with like in this digital age, it literally almost take anything and then like do that. It doesn't have to be like an actual vinyl record.
Yeah. But right after that, at 34 seconds on Heirloom, I wrote, I hate this type of riff. And it's not Slipknot's fault. It's just that like heavy rock, like I just like the way that your body reacted when you were listening to I Prevail. That's how my body reacts when I hear that riff. I can't stand it. And I don't know why. I just don't like it. And then Yen at 138. I like that little riffy thing that they do after the chorus is on. So more like 141.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And then 258 was an awesome scratch solo. I really liked it, but sorry, go.
Oh, I was going to say they do that quite a bit.
Yeah. I would have liked to hear more like heavier guitars under it as well. So like it kind, how like the music, it breaks away for a second and it kind of gets a little like minimalistic.
So like do like the 314 riff underneath of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when the guitar, like continue that scratch solo into the guitar part that comes right after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have elevated it, I think. But of all the songs on here, I would probably say that Yen I enjoyed the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much all I got to is this honestly was kind of I wouldn't say it's as big of an upset as Motionless, but it's definitely not what I was expecting.
Yeah. I was expecting to like hate it. Cause I wouldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
Just, if we didn't have the podcast. So same thing with Lamb of God. It just completely just bypasses me.
Yeah.
But, I would say that I didn't feel like uncomfortable having to listen through it, but I didn't love it either, kind of right in the middle. So what about what score would you give it?
I'm thinking like a 6, honestly. Like it had out of the whole, what was there, 12 songs? I would listen to 4 of them, to be honest. So yeah, it's just, I guess wasn't quite what I was expecting. And just, if it would have been an EP with those 4 songs, I think it would have been better than the full length, which kind of honestly was hard to like get through, especially with it being 57 minutes long.
It was a long one.
Yeah. I remember driving
5 minute, 6 minute songs. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember driving into work and only getting halfway through and then listening to it pretty much the rest of the way home after work and being like, oh, is this like the thought of, is this over yet? Like crossed my mind a couple times. And like, I feel bad because, I enjoy Slipknot, but at the same time, it's like this album isn't what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to give it a 6 as well.
Yeah.
Has never struck me as being a favorite, So
yeah.
I don't want to shit on him for it just not being my style. So
yeah.
Should we move on to Lamb of God now?
Yeah.
All right. So Lamb of God is Omens. This is a new album, new band for me, really. I think the first time I ever sat down and listened to a Lamb of God song straight through was when we did the reaction video of, I think it was Nevermore.
Mm-hmm.
A couple months ago. So you guys can go on our YouTube channel, the Bleghcast Reacts, and check that out. So is this one good to you, or was it just better than Slipknot, which is why you wanted to get Slipknot out of the way, or did you enjoy this Lamb of God one?
This was, I think, for me, just an overall better enjoyment. This was kind of the same thing where I have a couple, I think I only really honestly had one favorite song, and then
yeah, same here.
And then I have 3 other songs that I enjoyed parts of, but overall, even like, I mean, this album is like 10 minutes shorter. This was a much easier listen. I didn't get bored. I think I enjoyed the songs overall a lot more. And I don't have anything really negative to say about it, other than the fact that it was pretty like cut and dry. Like, this is what Lamb of God sounds like.
Mm-hmm. So like for this band, do they not, because I think you might be more familiar with them than I am.
Not much.
Do they? Oh no. Okay.
Well, I listened to them a lot. This was one of the bands that got me into metal. So I listened to. I need to go back to their discography to figure out, like, Ashes of the Wake, like 2004 album, was on like constant repeat.
So I was going to ask if this was one of those bands where you know what you're going to get when you open up a Lamb of God album compared to like Slipknot. You're like, it doesn't really sound like Slipknot. Whereas Lamb of God, it's like they don't really try to change too much. They just like writing.
It's pretty much
songs.
Yeah, this
in their domain.
Yeah, this is pretty much like cut and dry. I think the only song that kind of surprised me was September Song. That one was a little bit different than what I was expecting, but that was one of my favorites. What did you think about it? Was this... Because I remember you saying when we listened to... It was Nevermore, when we did that reaction, that it's like you enjoyed some of the riffs, and you're like, if this is what they sound like, I might start listening to them more because of those riffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the comments that I had as well. It's like they're very riffy,
yeah,
which I wasn't expecting. I would agree with you that overall I enjoyed this one more than Slipknot. Like, it was easier to get through.
Yeah.
If the production felt a little fuller to me, even though like Slipknot has way more instruments.
Yeah.
This one just felt kind of warmer and just bigger, a little bigger overall. I agree with you that there was like never. So like Ditch. I had like one favorite that was Ditch.
Okay.
I genuinely like that song, for the intensity and like, the riffs. And then I really like there's a lead guitar thing going on in the background at like 208.
Okay.
That I really liked. Let me just pull that up real quick. That like fast, that fast thing. So I'm probably not going to listen to Lamb of God a lot, but this is because this was my first Lamb of God album as well. But I think this one overall was just kind of an easier and a slightly more enjoyable experience than Slipknot.
Yeah.
And then Nevermore was all right. I put all right on there. That was actually maybe, but what I will say about Nevermore, like I haven't listened to Nevermore since the first time we listened to it months ago, but I could still remember the riff that they played, which is like that's very impressive.
Yeah.
That they can write something like that and have it stick with me. Like first time listening to a Lamb of God song all the way through. And then it's still stuck with me. Like even before we started listening to the album, when we picked it last week, I already knew that I could remember what Nevermore sounded like, that's cool. Really impressive. Yeah. Yeah. So really Ditch and Nevermore were the only two that I put notes on.
Okay.
Overall, same thing with Slipknot. It wasn't like, I didn't have that like physical reaction of like trying to force myself to listen to it, but I didn't really find myself wanting to go back a lot to burn the CD to death. So.
That's fair. Yeah. So I think my two favorites were To the Grave and September Song. And then I have notes for Omens and Gomorrah. But so in To the Grave at 50 seconds, the guitar chug and like the vocals following suit, I guess it's more like 54 seconds, but just like the way he's landing on it to like the same chug of the guitar, I found sonically pleasing. And then he does it again at 148, and then at 254. This is something I enjoy about Randy Blythe, who's the vocalist for Lamb of God, is his highs. He has one of the most interesting like high screams. Okay, maybe that's a bit too far. Where's it at? 252, sorry. Or 242. Is that like the way he hits that high note when he like screams, it's such for me, it's such like an interesting sound and it takes me back to like high school.
Yeah, I like that. I like how he does that.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoy his vocals. They're not, how do I want to say this? They seem a little bit more raw than a lot of, so I know, okay, so for, I guess a really good comparison would be like Will Ramos, excellent vocalist, can do a lot with his voice, but even though like he can make those noises, it sounds heavily produced. Even though he can actually make those noises, it just sounds like they're real dirty, but they're actually like it's like they're cleaned up, and it just sounds real smooth, like the way he does it, even though they're real gnarly and nasty. Whereas for Randy Blythe, like his vocals have always had that more raw sound put into them. So and they're not super polished, I guess. And so I think I enjoy like the production value on his voice a lot, just because it's not so, I don't want to keep saying produced, but it's just like it's raw, and so I feel like you get a little bit more emotion out of what he's saying compared to like Will Ramos, who once again is an excellent vocalist, but like it sounds almost too good to be real.
Yeah. It seems like Lamb of God versus Lorna Shore, Randy versus like Will.
Yeah.
I think Lorna Shore is the type of band where it's like, all right, let me retry that vocal spot again. I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Lamb of God is like, no, we don't want to do it again. I if there's a little bit of imperfection in there, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Whereas like Lorna Shore, like if there's any imperfection, it's like, now we really need to hit that vocal spot like this, and layer it like 3 or 4 times. Like there weren't a lot of, like, you can tell that Will's voice in those records is like heavily layered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll do it like some sections it'll be like a low scream, a high, and a mid or something like that. So it's like his voice 3 times. Whereas this one, I don't recall really hearing a lot of like doubling up on vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was just going down the line in Omens. I enjoyed it 42nd, that little chanty Omens that they do. A little fun little bit there. And then
That's fun.
What?
You said it was a little fun spot.
Yeah, a little fun spot. And then at 110, something that I enjoy about this band is they do gallops pretty well. And it's like the guitar, just the dun 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 dun. So I really enjoyed like that like gallopy type the riff.
Yeah, that sounds like real old school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while. Almost like Slayer or something, Metallica. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much all I enjoyed. I'm not the only thing I enjoyed. Those were my notes for Omens. And then Gomorrah, the guitar intro is melodic, but like chuggy at the same time. At like 19 seconds, they bring in like the rhythm guitar. So you have like your lead guitar being all melodic, and then you just got that like heavy, just like chug with some like with some like cymbals going on. I felt like it was pretty good intro there. And then at 2 minutes, I put sexy guitar. I don't really quite remember what that sounded like. Oh yeah, just like that high, just like lead bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I liked about Ditch too.
Yeah.
Good sound.
That's pretty much all I had to say about Gomorrah. And then for September song, I think what I enjoyed about this is it had a really different sound compared to what normal Lamb of God sounds like. The intro was softer, really melodic, and just like kind of like eerily like beautiful when that electric guitar comes in at 40 seconds. And then at 3 minutes, they got like another choir, or they have a choir in the background, I think. Okay, no, I'm not. Okay, yeah, it's real light, but it's there. And then at 3:48, I enjoyed the guitar riff, and then I also put like flute and question mark because I couldn't quite pick up whether it was a flute or if it was like a guitar with No, I'm not hearing it.
It's like 404, 405.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a keyboard to me.
Yeah.
Some kind of lead.
Yeah. But
Because I'm hearing a bend in there that sounds like a pitch wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good catch though.
Yeah. And then I'm really bad with my timestamps today. That was really off. But oh, maybe it was I enjoyed the riff at 3:48, and then it went into that like little flute bit there, and I didn't put like the timestamp for when the flute came in.
Mhm.
And then at 5 minutes, the breakdown. Like this was this is like a classic old school breakdown. There's like a lot of open space. It just like brought me back. And then at 5:26, some like strings come in to like layer in with that breakdown. And it was a good breakdown. I enjoyed it.
It almost doesn't even sound like Lamb of God to me. It almost sounds like 2008, 2012, like post-hardcore.
That's what I was saying.
Era.
Like, yeah, it was like a real, like old school, like post-hardcore breakdown.
with the chanting, like the gang vocal too.
Yeah.
That almost, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like Blessed to Fall.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Like if you had just showed me that last minute of that song and told me this is Blessed to Fall, I'd have been like, yes, that is Blessed to Fall.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say about that.
Yeah, me too.
Overall, I think I enjoyed the album. I don't know. I might put it on every now and then, just because I enjoy listening to like Lamb of God. Just every so often. Just because they are one of those bands that like got me into metal, so every now and then
show them some love.
I get a little itch to like go back to that, but yeah, it's pretty much it for me. What did you think of it?
At first I wanted to give it a 6 as well, but
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna bump it up slightly to a 6.5.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoyed this one more than Slipknot, and gave Slipknot a 6. But I don't think it's quite in 7 territory for me to want to, listen to a song here and there again in the future. So, what about you?
I'm split between like a 7 and a 7.5, to be honest, just because, once again, I felt like an overall pretty solid album, but like there weren't a lot of like memorable moments, I guess, but they stayed true, like the most true to their sound that I've heard, like any band pretty much all year. Is like, this was the most like identifiable, like, oh yeah, this is Lamb of God, this is what they sound like, compared to some other bands this year who have been experimenting with sounds and stuff like that. So I think I'm gonna go like 7.5, because I found it enjoyable, an easy listen, but they had some like catchy parts in it, so
cool.
That's where I'm gonna go with that.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
That's about it.
All righty. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See ya. What do you want to start with?
I'll let you decide.
Okay, we'll get the hard one out of the way first. We'll start with Slipknot.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
No, I I think I probably agree with you.
Okay.
So.